Hi everyone, it's Aaron. I have recently put my rap career on hold to do some other different videos, and so I decided that what I'm going to do for a little bit is videos of movie slash book reviews. I recently, about a few months ago, finished the book Ready Player One, as well as saw the movie several months ago. So I kind of want to talk about those two to start with. I'm going to start off with talking about the movie. So, the movie Ready Player One, directed by Steven Spielberg, start off with great movie. I really enjoyed it. It did fairly well in the box office as well. So the way this movie opens is on this character named Wade Watts. He is from a relatively poor family. Both of his parents have died, and he lives with his aunt and her boyfriend in a futuristic dystopian world, in which case pretty much everyone's life is pretty crappy for the most part, except for the people who are like the really rich elitists. He lives in a place called the Stacks, which is mainly a futuristic trailer park, but instead of all the trailers like being on the ground level, they are in like towers called stacks, which is where he lives. And you can tell that his relationship with his aunt and her boyfriend, especially, is not great. Her boyfriend seems to be somewhat abusive to both him and her. So he spends a lot of time in what he calls his hideout, which is an area that he made where he can log into a online universe, basically, which is what everyone uses kind of to get away from their day-to-day lives, called the Oasis. The Oasis is this giant, massive online universe that has like so many different things in it. It's hard to explain. It's honestly just basically another world where you can be whoever and whatever you want. It does not matter what you are in your daily life. You can be anything at all here. Basically, everyone has, as long as you have a VR, virtual reality visor, and the gloves for the game. Basically, you can pretty much just do whatever you want. So that's basically where Wade goes pretty much every day. So the premise of the movie is that this man named Halliday, it's his last name, created the Oasis, and he has recently died. And before he died, he told everyone that the control over the Oasis, as well as his fortune of $250 billion, I believe it was billion, will go to whoever can find this hidden Easter egg that he put in the game. If you don't know what an Easter egg is, it's basically a hidden item in a game that is just that honestly many games have these days, and it's just different. It's just things you're gonna find pretty much by exploring the game for the most part. So he says basically what all the people who are heading for the egg know is that there's three keys they need. They will eventually unlock a gate, and inside that gate will be the Easter egg, control of the Oasis, and this massive fortune. So Wade and his best friend H, and millions of others are all searching for this. Them as well as them, they found out that the first key is going to be in this like impossible, unbeatable race that everyone keeps trying to finish, but no one has ever been able to in like the months since Halliday died. So we see H and our character Wade, who's in the game, is known as Parzival, as well as this other person named Artemis, who are all trying to finish the race. At the end, no one has ever gotten past the final boss, which is in the race, which is King Kong, and once again they fail at this. I will say, however, though, this race part in the beginning is one of the coolest scenes in the movie, in my opinion. It's just how massive it is, and all like the different like obstacles and stuff, and it is just really amazing. You also see at this point who basically else is going for the egg as well. There's this corporation known as the Sixers who also want the egg, and their motivation is a little weak for wanting it. Basically, they want to just throw a bunch of ads into the Oasis and also charge people money to use it and stuff, as it's free right now. I mean, the villains do look good, but at the point, their motivation is a little weak, I will say. Sorrento is the leader of this corporation, and anyway, that's all you really need to know about him at the moment. So, there's also this place that they go in the Oasis, which has some video journals that Halliday left that is supposed to give clues to how to get the eggs, the keys to open the gate, get the Easter egg. So Parzival goes there several times and eventually figures out how to get the first key is you have to drive backward through the race, and that's the only way to get it. So he managed to get the first key first and pops up on this leaderboard as being the only person to have any points so far in the thing. Artemis sees him do it, and so she gets it second, followed by H and then two others called named Dido and Shoto, who become known as the High Five because they are the 5 high players in that game, high scorers. And so he gets the first key through that. And after that, Sorrento hires someone to find out who Parzival actually is in real life, because they don't like to use names generally in the Oasis because it would put them in danger. So next, they're trying to find the second key, and they have a clue that has something to do with Halliday, who apparently had a crush on his partner's eventual wife and regrets at this point not actually pursuing a relationship with her in real life. So they go to this dance club hoping to find clues. At this point, they actually get ambushed by the Sixers, but manage to get away before they get killed or captured. And also at this point, Parzival reveals his real name to Artemis, Wade Watts, or just Wade, I think, and also expresses his love for her, which is interesting. But anyway, and the spy for Sorrento hears him say that name. And from that, because when they got the first key, they also got a bunch of money to spend in the Oasis. He bought a Oasis suit, basically. And because of that, they know who Wade is and how to track him down, basically. So Sorrento gives Parzival, Wade, an offer to help him find the key, and in return Sorrento will give him basically whatever he wants for the most part. Wade declines, and because of this, Sorrento blows up the stack where his aunt and her boyfriend live, thinking he has killed Wade also. Wade, however, was in his hideout, and so did not get killed. After his home's destroyed, Artemis in the real world kind of takes him in, and he lives in that hideout for a while with her, until eventually and she reveals to him, while he's there, that her father died in debt to the Sixers, and so that debt probably tells to her when she died, and that's why she's hiding out from them. The Sixers eventually raid her hideout, and she is captured. And Wade manages to escape with the help of H and Dido and Shoto in the real world. And together they resume searching for the key, and they also manage to rescue Artemis by hacking Sorrento's oasis rig that he has, pretty much, and forcing him from there to let her go. She, however, stays in the company to infiltrate it and help them. Later, before this, they also managed to find the second key, which was actually in a Oasis adaptation of the movie The Shining, which is where Halliday had taken Kira on their first date. Anyway, so they find the thing. They have two keys at this point, and the final key is on a planet where also Halliday's avatar's castle was, basically. At this point, the Sixers have figured out where the last key is and are trying to get it, and had erected like a force field around the area where it is that's impenetrable by anything else in the Oasis, because it's powered by a thing called a relic. Relics are items that can be won by completing quests in the Oasis and are indestructible except for, well, no, they're actually totally indestructible. Even other relics cannot destroy relics. So they have a relic that's a force field. The only reason is that it has to be monitored by a level 99 wizard at all times to actually be used, but it's completely impenetrable. However, Artemis is still inside the Sirius facility as a avatar and manages to shut down the force field just in time. Inside the force field, there's a Atari 2600 and a TV. Basically, the last challenge is that they have to figure out which game to play to get the last key. Anyway, so what happens is, okay, I was at this point, the Sixers also, who have entered the force field, also have the first two keys. So this is just the third key they're going after now. So to break through this ridiculous army that these Sixers have amassed, Parzival sends out a message to everyone else in the Oasis, basically saying, hey, if we can't do this, they're going to take control of the Oasis. Do you really want that? I need everyone's help to do this. And a large number, millions, of the Oasis, just random people, come and help. And they eventually manage to break through the Sixers barricade. At this point, Artemis is still inside, and Sorrento knows that she's in there and is searching for her in the facility where they have a bunch of their employees playing the game. Later a few minutes later, just to help her survive in the real world, Parzival kills Artemis in the game, and she barely manages to escape and gets into the van that his best friend H in the real world is driving with him in the Oasis, as well as Dido and Shoto, which is where they're all basically hanging out and trying to get the last key. So Parzival gets to the very last stage of the game, and because he's there, Sorrento decides that rather than let him get the key right now, he is going to blow up everyone in the Oasis in that area and just destroy everything, which he does with another relic. And Wade only managed to survive because earlier in the movie, he had gotten this token from this person who controls Halliday's video journals I mentioned earlier, who is called the Curator. He uses the extra life token and comes back in. He realizes that the last game that's supposed to be played, the Sixers already found out, was the game called Adventure. They had beaten the game, except for that had not worked to get the key. That is why Parzival figures out here that it's not beating the game that you have to do. It's getting the Easter egg that's in that game, one of the first Easter eggs ever made, which shows who the developer of the game was. And so he does that and gets the third key, at which point a gate appears, has 3 keyholes in it. He puts the 3 keys in, opens the gate, and inside finds this contract. He realizes almost immediately this is another test devised by Halliday, knowing that Morrow signed this contract to sign away his shares of their shared company. Ogden Morrow, by the way, was the partner of Halliday when he was making the Oasis, and he eventually signed away his shares of the company. Was Morrow's biggest mistake that he made, therefore refused to sign the contract. At which point he passes the last test and gets this old VR thing of Halliday, where he talks to Halliday for a while, and Halliday eventually says, "Okay, here's the egg. You now have control of my fortune and the Oasis." Anyway, the movie pretty much wraps up then. Sorrento gets arrested for bombing the stacks at Wade's place, though they're not sure it's going to stick because he has all kinds of lawyers working for him. But now they have the money to hire lawyers as well, who can hopefully keep him away. And then he is given control of the Oasis, Wade is. He decides to share it with the other High Five at that point because, who I've mentioned before, is him, H, Artemis, Dido, and Shoto. And they decide that in addition to basically keeping the Oasis as it's been and free pretty much, they're also going to shut it down completely every Tuesday and Thursday because, as Halliday told him in the end of the movie, reality is real. Don't lose yourself in the Oasis. By the way, this is my cat Mango. You're probably going to see him a few times in my videos. Okay. And that's where the movie wraps up. So, honestly, really good movie. My 2 favorite scenes in it were the impossible race at the beginning and the very end part where all the other avatars from the Oasis help him to break through the Sixers lines. Anyway, but yeah, good movie. Honestly, I enjoyed it quite a bit. As we know, Steven Spielberg loves to make blockbusters and pretty much did the same thing here. Okay, moving on to the book. The book is honestly quite a bit different from the movie. The premise is pretty much the same. Halliday left this Easter egg in the Oasis. You have to get the 3 keys, and also in this case, pass the 3 gates to unlock the final Easter egg. So we open once again on Wade Watts. Same thing pretty much. Abusive aunt's boyfriend, and he likes to spend time in his hideout. Interesting thing here is that the Oasis almost seems bigger than you think it is in the book, because in the movie it kind of seems like a massive multiplayer online game, while in the book you can see how much stuff there really is in it. Like, people have business meetings inside the Oasis. Wade actually goes to school in the Oasis as well. And also, H has his own hideout called H's basement inside the Oasis, who he only allows certain people into. Anyway, it's way more. It's a whole virtual universe. There's tons of planets, tons of different stuff, and as long as you have money, you can buy pretty much whatever you want inside the Oasis. So Wade is a lot of people in this area have been searching for the egg for a while. Egg hunters are called gunters in this case as well, and everyone's pretty much getting disappointed at this point because no one's been able even to solve the first riddle given of where the first key is. Wade is sitting in class one day, I believe it's Latin, and he realizes something that he thought he missed before, that the egg is actually on the planet where his school is. Not the egg, the first key. So he goes to the place where he thinks it is and figures out that that is where the first key is. It's a reference to a Dungeons and Dragons map and has a Lich King at the end. And he goes through, studies the Dungeons and Dragons map, gets through the whole thing, gets to the Lich King at the end, and he has to beat the Lich King in a game of a video game called Joust. On the way out of this labyrinth cavern where he's in, where the Dungeons and Dragons Lich King was, he is confronted by the avatar Artemis. Prior to this, he has mentioned that he kind of has a cyber crush on Artemis, though just from reading her blog pretty much, he has never actually mentioned that he has met her in real life or even knows anything that she looks like. But she confronts him here and is like, how did you manage to beat him on your first try? I've been here for like several weeks trying to beat him. And he gives her a tip of like, he played on a different side of the old console that was in there. And so he and her are the first two who crack and get the first key. In this also, he gets a clue to what the first gate is. He discovers that clue pretty quickly, goes to the planet now that he has money to travel to a different planet. Because at first he has no money in the Oasis, so he can only basically go to his school planet, and that's pretty much it. He goes to the planet and goes and opens the first gate. This brings him into a adaptation or VR thing of the movie War Games. By the way, another great movie. And he is basically supposed to play through the entire movie as the main character in that movie. And so he does that and gets some more points, and now him and Artemis are the top two people on the leaderboard. He basically doesn't tell anyone what happened, and eventually H figures it out because he knows enough about Parzival to know that he has no money to travel anywhere, and so they must be on that place. So he also finds the first key and passes the first gate, as well as Dido and Shoto, who basically were just looking on the different message boards for Gunters and managed to figure it out. After this, the corporation also figures out where the first key is, as well as pretty much every other Gunter in the entire Oasis. Basically what happens is the corporation puts these two force fields, destructible ones though, around the area where it is, and until so Gunters have, I'll mention this now, have also formed into clans at some point to like have more people and more manpower searching for the keys and the gates. And two of the clans buy these antimatter bombs that they basically manage to take down the force fields with, and then it's just kind of a free-for-all of everyone trying to get that key. And at this point, also the schools decide to move to a new planet because of the fact that it's way too many people on the original school planet. So those are the 5 highest scores. Eventually, the majority of the rest of the leaderboard spots, the top 10, are taken up by just IOI Sixer employees, who are also got through the first key and the first gate. So the second key is really difficult. So okay, after he gets the first key and through the first gate, he gets a job offer from Sorrento and decides, you know what, let's meet with him, let's see what he's offering. Sorrento offers him basically super high position in the company, all the money he wants and everything pretty much. Help me get the egg. Wade had no intention ever of helping him, but wanted to know what he was offering at least, just to see what he's up against. After he declines the offer and basically tells him to, go screw yourself, Sorrento shows him how he has his aunt's home ridded with explosives. And so, then he blows it up when Wade refuses him, thinking he's killed Wade. Wade, however, in his hideout, is fine. Wade decides after this to move to Columbus, Ohio, which is where the server farm pretty much for the Oasis is located, and so has a very good way of, connection to it there. He also gets state-of-the-art Oasis equipment. He's very smart and so is able to pretty much get all the money he needs for anything he needs pretty much. He becomes a full-time egg hunter at this point, and many of them, including Wade himself, have been pretty much stonewalled by the riddle for the second key. At one point, however, Artemis and H, as well, and just the two of them, I think, figure out where the second key is. And because H felt like he used inside information on when he figured out where the first key was, he gives Wade an extra clue as to where the second key is, and therefore Wade finds the second key as right before the Sixers arrive on the planet where it is, as well as Dido and Shoto also get it. However, Dido is killed in real life during that time, and so drops off the leaderboard. Let's see. So, moving on. Wade is also at this point bought like his own planet and has like starships and different stuff. Another cool part from the movie is at one point Ogden Morrow, Halle's partner, decides to have his birthday party in the Oasis and events like all like the A-list celebrities, including Artemis and Parzival at this point, to his party. These Sixers crash the party, and Ogden, who is pretty much unkillable as an avatar in the Oasis, basically goes, "You dare crash my party," and then shoots them all with lightning, killing them. So, anyway, it's just another cool part in the book that I forgot to mention earlier. So at this point, they have the first two keys, and they also have passed both the first two gates, and now it's pretty much a race to find the third key and the third gate. Once again, the Sixers are right behind them doing this. During this time, Parzival realizes that he will probably need to break into the Sixers area to pretty much get any evidence he needs to hopefully put Serrano in jail, and also because he knows that the Sixers erected a force field around the last gate, and at this point, since that means they probably, as well as him and H and Shoto Artemis, has the third key. During his search for the second key, he came across a Pac-Man arcade game that had Halliday as the top scorer, and basically had to play a perfect game in order to beat him. He did this, thinking it was some kind of challenge, and got this coin that went into his inventory automatically and could not be dropped, and just pretty much hung out there. He's like, okay, that's cool, whatever it is. So later, what happens is the Sixers have an army and a force field around the last gate and are trying everything they possibly can to get into it, but have not figured out how to do so yet. At this point, Wade knows that the only way to deactivate this thing is because it's a relic, is going to have to be from the inside. He then hacks the computer to make himself in debt to the corporation, and is then sent to this place where he's given a little test to see what kind of skills he has, and they eventually realize he has enough to do tech support for them. So he becomes an employee there, and basically will stay there until he pays off his debt. So he's inside the programming, and once again, since he's very smart, he basically hacks in their system, finds out that they have files on him, Artemis, H, Shoto, and Dido, and basically realizes that they're pretty much gunning for them at this point. So he also programs one of their robots inside the company to disrupt the wizard who maintained the force field, and therefore bring it down, hopefully at some point when he can get there with the other mentors. He also sends out his message here telling everyone in the Oasis, hey, let's do this, we need to. And basically encouraging them to come to the last planet, and he'll bring down the force field, and from there they can stop the Sixers from getting the egg. He also has figured out with Artemis, H, and Shoto that they need to have 3 people all turn the keys at the same time, and that's how they will open the last gate. Once again, so here we go again, basically, as what happened in the movie. And basically he's heading to the planet where the last gate is, and there's like this huge convoy of people all heading there pretty much, because they all think as long as the force field goes down, we can pretty much do this. And so right when he says force field goes down, and a massive fight begins between the Sixers and the Gunters. And the Gunters, the battle is just basically going on. In the middle of it, Parzival managed to take down Sorrento, and him, Artemis, and H all go into the last gate. At least go in there to turn their keys. At this point, Sorrento realizes that he's about to lose, sets off the huge bomb he got earlier, it's also a relic, and destroys pretty much the entire planet except for the gate and any other relics that were in the area. The coin that Parzival had earlier from being Pac-Man was actually extra life, so he managed to survive, but he has none of his weapons, nothing of anything, and the gate is floating in the air above the planet, and he has no access to it. He's able to communicate with his friends still. By the way, sorry, side note. During this time, he was also contacted in the real world by Ogden Morrow, who says that I have state-of-the-art Oasis tech here. I can't interfere in this quest of yours, but if you want to come here and use my facilities for the finale, feel free to. And I'm going to send private jets to collect you all. And so he does that, and that is where they all are for this final battle in the real world. In the Oasis, they're on this planet of where the last gate is. So anyway, thankfully Artemis had some boots that can pretty much fly, and so which are also a relic, and so he found those since relics can't store other relics, and manages to fly up to the gate and goes in the gate. The first part of the gate is he has to play through the movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail as Arthur, King of the Britons, and he is easily able to do this. He's seen the movie hundreds of times probably, and then eventually gets into a room that has basically all kinds of different game consoles hooked up. He realizes almost immediately that it's the Atari 2600 with the game Adventure. He plays the game, and instead of having a cube as the final thing you find with the Easter egg, it's a golden egg. He takes the egg and immediately goes into a room in the castle of Halliday's avatar called Anorak the Wizard. Anorak tells him, "Congratulations, you just secured control of the Oasis, and you also get secured my fortune." He shows him kind of around Anorak's study in the castle, which basically, the main thing in there is this button, which if he pushes it, will put a worm virus thing in the Oasis, which will basically destroy the entire source code and shut down the entire thing. He says, "Don't do this unless you definitely want to." He is also given an infinite health bar at this point, so he pretty much can't die. And also said, make sure you don't get lost entirely in here. Reality is reality, and this is just a game, or just a fantasy. And he also gets to basically do anything he wants in the Oasis now. First thing he does is brings back Artemis, H, and Shoto, as well as all their things as well. Realizes, though, that Artemis didn't come back in, didn't log back in right away. So he says hi to them. He's like, "Awesome, we're cool now." Goes outside and then logs off. Goes outside to meet Artemis, finds her, and they decide to start a relationship together. At that point, the news media wants to talk to him, obviously. Lawyers had to talk to him to kind of give him all the stuff that he just won from Halliday's estate, and the book wraps up. So anyway, in conclusion, as you can see, the book and the movie, the premise and the ending is pretty much the same, but besides that, the two could not be any different for the most part. However, worth a read, worth a watch, definitely. Especially if you find the movie for free and maybe get a used copy of the book, cost effective. Anyway, both of them are super good, and I definitely recommend them to anyone who likes kind of sci-fi dystopian universe kind of thing. I enjoyed both of them greatly, and anyway, this has been my first review. Honestly, I can't really say which one I liked better because of how different they are. I mean, I enjoy books quite a bit, and I feel like the book did kind of a better representation of how massive the Oasis actually is. Though the scenes in the movie, like the blockbuster scenes, were a lot more cooler than I thought the book kind of described them as. Though, honestly, both are amazing. Read it, watch it. That's my final word. Anyway, so this has been my first review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any of the people, very few who will probably watch this. So, have a great day. This is Aaron, signing off.